Hi, I'm Wiley.
And I'm Maddie.
And it should not happen again.
Okay, that was so cute.
Thank you. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, welcome.
Okay.
Welcome to episode 2.
Yes.
It's Maddie's
And
episode
this is
today.
going to be my episode. So originally, Wiley was going to go first, but I'm kind of better. So
Yeah, I got my information mixed up, so we're like, you can do it.
Yeah, and I just finished mine right before we started filming this. So it's
Ooh.
all fresh in my head.
Yeah. I finished mine a week ago.
Yeah.
So.
Well, she had hers done in like really July, but
yeah.
it's all scrambled now.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go first. So today, for our Taylor news,
Yeah.
we're talking about her vault tracks on Google.
Yes, they got released.
Yes, I think that was sick. How like you had to solve the puzzles and stuff, because I love stuff like that.
Me too.
And that's why I can't wait to talk about my favorite serial killer. Not that it like okay.
Serial killers are bad.
Saying that it's my favorite's a bad thing, but it's like the most interesting one to me. And it's gonna be a later episode, not this one. It's the Zodiac Killer, because it's so interesting.
Yes.
And I saw this TikTok the other night, and it's like the vault for the rep tracks, and it was the Zodiac Killer note. I sent that to you, and I'm like,
That'd be
oh
so
my god,
sick.
that's so funny, bro.
Yes.
Because the Swifties would do it. They would solve that.
The Swifties are great. Yeah, I hope everybody liked episode 1.
Yes.
We have like a total of 40 listeners. It's
yes,
so
we're
cute.
trying. We want to get 50 by the end of the week, guys.
Yes.
And
Everybody send it to everybody you know.
and also, this is my episode, so I'm talking more.
That's okay.
But we also have all of our social medias up now.
Mm-hmm.
So go follow the TikTok at It Shouldn't Happen Again and our Instagram at It Shouldn't Happen Again podcast. The TikTok is more just like promoting the podcast, and the Instagram is more based on like the cases. So when you're listening to the cases, you can go look at the Instagram and see like pictures and stuff from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maddie's in charge of that. So.
Yes, I am. So
she does great.
yeah, I'm just cool like that. And anyone on my Snapchat story, they know too, because it's all that's been on my Snapchat story this past week.
That's okay.
Okay. So my case today is the Greenbrier Ghost, and this case is just so interesting because it was the first and only time that a ghost testimony was like submitted into the official court documents and actually used like in the trial.
Well, that's cool.
And used as evidence. So that's how it's like really up my alley, because I'm really into paranormal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And our song for this week is going to be Would've, Could've, Should've.
Yes.
Because it's about like an abusive relationship and like being controlled by someone, which you'll see more later. Elva Zona Shue, also known as Zona, was born in Greenbrier, West Virginia in 1876.
My grandpa's from there. Not the Greenbrier
Really?
part, just West Virginia.
Just West Virginia?
Yep.
Yeah, we know some West Virginia people. Zona, and I'm just going to call her Zona throughout the whole thing because that's what everyone else called her, like all my sources and stuff. So Zona was the second oldest out of 7 children, but all of her siblings were brothers. Growing up, and even like in her adult life, everyone who surrounded her said she was like a super sweet person. She was always like so nice. And she had a really close relationship with her mom because she only had brothers. So it was like kind of the only woman in her life. So they like became really close. And a lot of people thought they were sisters because of like how close they were.
That's why I'm with my Nana. I love my Nana. Hi, Nana. I know you're listening.
Hi, Nana.
And my pop. I love my pop, too. I'm my pop's favorite and my Nana's favorite, but they won't admit
Is this
it.
the one who texted us at 6 a.m.?
Yes.
Saying, where is it?
She's like, where is it at, girl? I'm
Where's
like,
it at?
it was backed up, but
It was backed up. But
it's okay. It's out now.
yeah, it's out now. So having a lot of brothers, they all looked out for her because she was like the like sweetie of the family. She was like their little sister. You know, she was older than all of them. Her family like had a farm. So they had to go into town a lot to like sell their goods. And eventually she started going into the town with her brothers when they would go. And she met a guy there named George.
Ooh.
And Zona started going to the town more and more often so she could see George.
That's so cute.
And like this was like kind of her like little first love, like her cute little.
This is so love story.
Yes, it would. This part is so love story. But then this is the 1800s. Remember that. Zona became pregnant with George's kid.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
That's so not Taylor.
But then, both of the kids, or not both the kids, but the parents were like, you know, you guys aren't old enough to get married. Like, George agreed that he'd just pay her some money. And then they'd, like, co-parent the kids still, but they just weren't in a place to get married. Which, like, was, like, really progressive of the families to be like, yeah, you guys can't, like, you guys aren't in a place to get married. Like, we'll help you guys out.
Especially in the 1800s.
Yeah, exactly.
When people got married early anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And their parents told them, they're like, yeah, you guys aren't in a good place. Like, we got this. But then, so sadly, after she gave birth to the kid, like, days after it died.
Oh.
Because of, like, complications with her being so young. And Zona, like, really never recovered from this. She became really depressed, and she stopped going into town. And then her and George ended up breaking up, like, really shortly after that. Because the grief was just, like, so much, it pulled them apart. And George got married to another woman within, like, a year.
Dang.
Yeah. But, you know, he wasn't ready to marry Zona.
Sounds like Kanye West.
Kanye! Oh, my God. Holy cow.
That's terrible. Terrible name. We don't support Kanye here.
Zona's parents, her mom's name was Mary, right? And Mary said that Zona never really, like, fully recovered from losing her kid. And it always, like, put a, like, strain on her. She was, like, a little more depressed after that. But once Zona started to, like, recover from her grief, like, she started to feel a little happier. She's like, okay, you know, I'm going to start going into town with you guys again. She's going to put herself back out there, go out with her brothers. And she met a new blacksmith who was in town named Edward. Ooh. But everyone called him Trout. And she really liked him.
That's cute.
And then Zona would go home all the time because she started making trips into town just to see Edward, like, not to sell anything. And so Zona's mom was like, okay, this is getting serious. She's like, I need to meet him. So then Zona's parents drove to town one day in their little wagon. And they went to the blacksmith shop, and they're like, oh, we're Zona's parents. Like, we want to meet you. And Trout, he was, like, being all rude to them. And then the mom's like, yeah, I hate him. She's like, something's not right about him. He's too inappropriate. And she was just going, like, she's telling Zona all this about how he's such a bad person. And she's like, I forbid you from seeing him. He's not good for you.
Ooh.
And Zona did not like that.
Yikes.
So she liked her, like, little sneaky things. So she'd go behind her parents' back to go see him. And then one day, October 20th, 1896, Zona and Edward were talking, and he's like, you know, we should just run away together and get married because your parents forbid us. And, like, screw what they think of me. Like, you love me, we're in love, like, let's go get married. And Zona's like, okay. So they ran away and they got married. Oh. And Zona had wore a deep red dress that she made for their wedding, and no family, it was just them two.
Dang.
Was at their wedding, yeah.
That's like Full House when they get married at the... No, not Full House. Saved by the Bell. When, like, the friends get married at the Vegas thing.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's definitely not Full House because I watched that show many times.
I love Full House. I'm sorry I got that wrong. It's been a long day.
My little sister who made my beautiful bracelet for me loves Full House. They have Fuller House. We've watched it many times.
Me too. I cried when both of them ended. Even though I wasn't alive for the first ending, I cried when I finished it.
That's how it was with Boy Meets World. I love Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
Okay, so Trout, back, like, into Trout's early life, he was born in 1861, which makes him 15 years older than Zona.
Cute.
As did the math, guys.
Good job.
And he was very spoiled, even though he was one of 9 kids. Dang. I don't know where in the 9, but... yeah, so his family had to have some money or something because he was extremely spoiled.
Me too.
Which makes sense if you think about his behaviors. So, Trout had gotten in a little bit of trouble earlier in life. He had 2 previous wives. Oh. And when he moved to the town that he met Zona in, he was trying to start a new identity for himself. He was trying to start over.
Oh, sick.
So, Trout's first wife... he was very abusive towards, and he always had a temper and would lie to her.
That sounds healthy.
And then a lot of times he would leave the house for weeks at a time with no explanation. And during those weeks, a lot of time it would say that he was like cheating on her.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then in February 1887, they had a daughter together.
Oh.
Him and his first wife. And then one day Trout just got tired of his wife, and he kicked he kicked her and the daughter out of the house.
Oh, that's so nice.
He just left him on the streets.
Oh.
Yeah, so cute.
Yeah, he sounds like such a great person.
Yes, so great. So then, I couldn't find why, but he went to jail.
Oh.
After that.
I mean, pretty self-explanatory, it seems like. He seems like the
Yeah.
type to go to jail.
He went to jail. And that is where he learned to get really good at blacksmithing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how he met Zona, is his
Mhm.
blacksmithing shop. And then, after he got out of jail, got really good at blacksmithing, he actually used this on another girl before Zona.
Mm-hmm.
So, his second wife, one day, they had just had a snowstorm, so he had to go repair the bricks on the roof, and he was repairing them, and then as the wife walked outside to give him water, he accidentally dropped a brick off of the house, and it hit his wife in the head.
Such
and
a
she
common
died
mistake.
from head trauma. Such a silly mistake.
Good
and
Lord.
that's how he just described it to everyone. He's like, yeah, that was a silly little mistake.
Yeah, I accidentally killed my wife.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's my bad, guys.
My bad.
I'm a little quirky.
Yikes.
Thanks. And then there's a lot of reports that said one of his biggest goals in life was to have a total of 7 wives. Not at the same time, just like throughout his life.
That's so real.
So then he met Zona, his third wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also, I forgot to say this, but he was also abusive to the second wife. I
Yeah.
just said also 3 times, so sorry. Take that out. Okay, so once Zona, this is back to present. So when Zona and Trout got married, she was very isolated because her mom didn't approve of Trout. She didn't approve of the marriage, wanted nothing to do with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they stopped talking. And so Zona had no one. And they moved to a new town, so she literally knew no one. So at this time, they have been married for 3 months, right? And he would go home every day to eat lunch. And if she didn't have it made for him, he would beat her. Like, bad. Right?
Oh.
So, on this particular day, he swears he didn't go home to eat lunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had this house on their street with their neighbor Martha, and she had this little boy named Andy. And Andy, he was like 11, right? And he'd go around and he'd run chores for everyone who was like at work. So he'd go like pick vegetables or whatever. And so then one day Trout went over to Martha's house, and he's like, hey, can you have Andy go check on Zona for me while I'm at work, because she's not feeling like really well and I just want to make sure she's okay. You know, good husband right there.
Yeah, good man.
But that was around lunchtime. So then he went back to work, and Andy had a whole bunch of other stuff to do for people that day. It took him about an hour to get to Zona's house. And when Andy finally got to the house, he immediately knew something was off, even though he was 11 years old.
Yikes.
When he walked up to the front door, there was blood droplets on the front doorstep.
Oh.
And there was drips of blood leading to the dining room.
Poor kid.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
So he found Zona dead in the house.
Oh.
And so he ran home, told his mom, and, you know, she got Trout. So then Trout was in the house. He ran over to Zona. He was crying and holding her.
Oh, wait. No, not the kid. Just kidding. That was a man.
No.
So, okay. This guy, I'm assuming he killed his wife, told his child neighbor, can you go check on my wife, knowing that he killed her?
Yeah.
Good man.
Well, we don't know he killed her.
Oh, my bad.
He's crying right now. He's so sad.
You're right. I forgot. It was probably the 11-year-old.
It was probably Andy. So, you know, Trout got there and he started crying and holding Zona and, like, playing this good, right? And he's like, he told Martha to go get, like, their doctor or whatever. Their physician.
Mm-hmm.
And then the physician got there 2 hours later because this is a small town. He's the only guy. It's 1800, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it all checks out. But when the doctor had got there, Trout was upstairs with the body. The dining room's downstairs. He was upstairs and he had washed it and put it in new clothing.
The body?
And put a black veil over her head. Yeah, he washed it. Got rid of all the evidence on it.
Wait, how did she die? Are we getting to that? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we're getting to that. So, the doctor immediately thought it was a heart attack, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then he also remembered that, like, there's some talk about Zona maybe being pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, maybe it was some complications with the pregnancy. So then he tried to, like, go over and, like, look at her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Trout was like, no, you can't touch her.
That's weird.
And he's like, why? And he's like, no, I don't want anyone touching her. He'd get, like, super defensive about it.
Oh.
So then he's like, well, maybe... Yeah, so he just didn't know. So it was ruled as a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was some talk about the cause of death maybe being childbirth. And that's what was originally put on, like, her death certificate. Mm-hmm. But then they had to change it because there was no child.
Oh.
Like, you know...
Yeah.
If you died of childbirth, then where's the kid?
Yeah.
And, like, it wasn't even sure... No one was even sure if she was actually pregnant or if it was just a rumor.
Mm-hmm.
So then, of course, they had to tell Zona's family, and they were devastated because, think about it, the last, like, things they said to her were probably a fight.
Yeah.
Because the last time they had talked was right after the wedding.
Yikes. That's so sad because, like, her mom knew.
And when Zona told her mom, she, like, or not when Zona told her mom, when the mom found out about Zona's death, she, like, yelled, like, she screamed. Because she was so heartbroken because they were so close.
Sad.
So then when they got to the funeral, Trout would not leave Zona's body. Like, he would not leave her side. And if anyone tried to, like, get too close to her or, like, touch her, he would, like, yell at them and get super mad. So then they had this, like, ceremony, and I didn't know nothing about this, but it's called, like, a sitting up with the dead, where you stay up all night, and it's like a wake, basically, only it's, like, you're pulling an all-nighter, and so you, like, I don't know how to describe it, but you sit there, and then the people, they just, like, mourn her, and a lot of times they tell stories about, like, their life, right? So they had one of those, and since you're staying up all night, everyone was kind of, like, getting, like, drowsy, but Trout was up, and he was watching, like, vigilant. And
Vigilant?
he would still...
Vigilante?
That's my mom's favorite Taylor song. She calls it her theme song.
That one was so sick at the Eras tour. Okay, keep going, sorry.
So, God. I don't even know where I was now. Yeah, and
Vigilant.
he still wouldn't leave her body or let anyone get too close. And he wouldn't, also, so, you know, like, he wouldn't let anyone look at basically the top part of the casket where her head was. So, yeah, that was pretty suspicious of him.
Yeah.
Then when preparing the body for the burial, Trout took charge of it.
Oh.
He would not let anyone else touch the body.
Yikes.
And he put pillows and sheets on, like, both sides of her head to like, keep it in place. And so she wouldn't get cold. And then he put a thick scarf around her neck and said it was because it was her favorite scarf. And everyone's like, why are you putting a scarf around her? And he's like, no, it's her favorite. She told me she wanted to be buried in it. First of all, they were married for 3 months. What kind of conversation were you guys having that she was telling you that she wanted to be buried in a scarf?
Yeah.
Second of all, his whole thing about her being cold, it was July.
Oh.
And
That
third,
makes sense.
her family said that is not her favorite scarf. Like, she didn't have a favorite scarf. She never wore scarves. Like, we do not know what he's talking about.
Yikes.
And so that was really silly of him. And then witnesses say at the funeral, her head looked like it was going, like, her head looked like it was going to fall off of her neck when it wasn't being propped up. And,
that is...
like, if they'd get, like, really uneasy if they ever, like, if anyone was able to get a glance, because, you know, Trout was still right there.
That is actually horrific.
Yeah, so like anytime the sheets or anything would shift, like her head would look like it's about to fall off.
No, I can't. Decapitation?
No.
Ugh.
So when you tell us you're gonna bite our heads off, that's
When I'm
actually a big
mad.
no-no for you.
Yeah. That's what I say when I'm mad at them and they're annoying me. I'm like, you ask me
I'm
one more
gonna bite
question,
your
I'm
head
gonna
off.
bite your head off.
Gosh.
Actually, I've only said that once.
So then, right before she was buried, the mom removed the pillows and sheets that were like holding her head in place from the casket, but it didn't fall. It just shifted a little bit. But the way it shifted, it like looked natural. Like if you would have taken the pillows out. So her head's still on. Don't worry.
Okay. Good.
And then when she took the like sheets out, she offered Trout one, like being nice because you know that's his wife.
Yeah.
He was so sad that she died.
Yeah, he cried.
He cried and held her.
Oh.
And she's like, do you want this? Like, do you want one of these? And he's like, ew, no, why would I want that?
Okay then.
And the mom's like, okay.
Yeah.
So then witnesses from the funeral say that, like, as soon as they put the last bit of dirt over that casket, he was out of there. He had a huge sigh of relief. Like, he audibly sighed. Like, thank God. And then dipped. He got out of there so quick.
Oh my goodness.
Yes! Like, that is not... Like, okay.
Goodness.
So this is the good part.
Oh, I've been waiting.
Okay, I love this. So, soon after the funeral, Mary, Zona's mom, started having what she would say are hallucinations of Zona saying that Trout killed her. And so this would always happen when Mary was in Zona's bed, like praying to a higher power, that something would happen that she would figure out what happened to Zona. Because she knew she did not have a heart attack and it was not complications of childbirth, because at this point they had ruled out that she was ever even actually pregnant. It was all just a big rumor.
Yikes.
This is the story that Mary was telling everyone. And so Zona came to her in these visions and said that the day she died, she was not feeling well. But she woke up and made Trout lunch because she knew if he didn't, he would, like, hit her, right? Because he was very abusive. And so she got up and she made him a lunch of fruit, jellies, and bread. Like, that's so cutesy.
Yes.
And when he got home, he became extremely upset and aggravated because there was no meat in the lunch.
Such a man.
You know, that's not a manly meal.
Yes.
Trout had a full-on, like, rage about this. He went on a whole rampage where he choked Zona until blood came out of her mouth.
Yikes.
Yeah. And then Zona goes on to say that Trout destroyed all of her pretties, talking about the decoration she had around the house, like all her like little flowers and paintings. And I thought that was so cute because she called them her pretties.
That is so adorable, but that's so sad.
That was really sad to me.
Poor girl.
And then Zona had also told her mom that Trout had hid the dress by Martha's house when he went to go talk to Andy. She also told her to check in a field by a fence, but she didn't tell her what she would find there. And I know they found something there because it is confirmed that everything Zona had said to her mom in these like dreams and stuff was proven to be true, but I couldn't find what they found by the fence because it just says that Zona wanted her mom to check by this fence in a certain field, and they found something, but I don't know what. So this happened like 3 or 4 times, and on the 4th time, Zona had retold the story, made sure everything was clear to Mary, and then she was walking out of the room and she turned her head 180 degrees to like look back at Mary, like showing off that her neck had been broken, and then disappeared. And that was the last time Mary ever saw her.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
That's
like
so cool. Not cool. No.
No,
It's just freaky.
that is like,
But
no,
it's
I
just
think
like so
paranormal stuff
interesting.
is so cool.
You know what this reminds me of? Teresita Bassa. which we should do in a future episode.
Yes.
It's kind of the
I
same
can't wait.
thing. Yeah.
I want to do like the Cecil Hotel in one episode,
Yeah.
even though it's like not murder.
It's still
pretty
paranormal.
cool. It's cool, but it's also not paranormal if you look into the actual case.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of people think it is, but
Upcoming on It Shouldn't Happen
Upcoming!
Again.
And that's gonna be my case. You already know, guys.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
with it being the 1800s, Mary was scared to say anything to anyone because she'd get like burned at the stake.
Fair.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, it was bothering her enough that she ended up telling her husband and her family. And you know what they said? They said, yeah, you should tell the neighbors. They're like, we totally believe you.
Uh-huh.
Like, that all checks out.
Yeah.
Which is crazy that they thought that in the 1800s. Like, go
this
them.
Family seems a little progressive. Like, they were like, yeah,
That's
you're
so
not,
true.
like, young and, you know, I don't know.
So then, she finally worked up the courage to tell her neighbors, and they all said, yeah, it checks out. He was a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bad enough person that they are, like, because
They're
that was not...
convinced that he murdered someone.
Yeah.
That's
Which
a
is
lot.
so crazy because in the 1800s, it would have been like, you're going to get burned at the stake. Like, we're going to stone you. You're a witch.
Yeah.
So then all her neighbors were like, yeah, it checks out. He was a bad person.
So they were
So
probably
true.
like, yeah, she's a woman. All she does is get pregnant. She
That's
probably
so
died of
true.
childbirth.
I didn't even think about that. Because I was
Yeah.
just thinking about the facts of, like, they would have been like, no, you're like a witch.
Uh-huh.
And this was, like, after the, like, witch trials or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then all the neighbors were like, no, you need to go tell the authorities.
Mm-hmm.
And then she went and told the authorities, and they're like, well, the whole story was checking out. They're like, we have no reason not to believe you, and all these people are backing you up saying that this is definitely true.
Mm-hmm. Dang.
So then they talked to the doctor who had showed up at Zona's house,
Mm-hmm.
and Trout was like, no, you can't touch her. And he told his whole story and how suspicious he thought that, like, Trout was being.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, that all makes sense. And it was all, like, checking out to them. They were going to use this,
Mm-hmm.
and that's so cool. Like, they're going to use her little ghost story.
Yeah.
So then they started looking a little more into Trout, and they found his past police reports where he'd been abusing his ex-wives, and, you know, the brick accidentally fell off of the house.
Yikes.
Accidentally slipped out of his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you know, there's a good chance he killed her.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so, Mary, Zona's mom, gave them permission to dig up the body and do an autopsy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And when Trout found out about that, he was so mad.
Which is a red flag. Come on, man. Why are you so mad?
And he's like, I'm not going to that. He's like, I'm not going to that. That's stupid. They don't need to have an autopsy. And the sheriff said, it's in your best interest you should go, because if you don't, we will use that against you in court.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, his response to that was, they can't prove it was me.
Oh. Oh.
Just,
Oh.
that is not suspicious at
No.
all. They can't prove it was me. No, they can't do it. Like, why would you tell the sheriff that? He didn't say it was you.
No, that's
They just
such
said that
a
they would use
red
it.
flag. This guy is a walking red flag.
Yeah.
Like
So-
John Mayer.
This is really, yeah. But, this is really weird. But they did the autopsy at a school, like at their local, like, elementary school.
What the heck?
And they just pushed the tables together, performed the
Oh.
autopsy, you know, wiped them down. The next day, all the kids went back to school.
Oh. Oh. Yikes. See, I guess I didn't have, like...
Then the whole time that they were doing the autopsy, Trout was talking about how Zona had fell down the stairs, and this is so stupid because they knew she'd fell down the stairs, and that was the cause of death. He wasn't home. There's no way he would have known she fell down the stairs, because his original story was, I was at home.
Yeah.
I didn't go home for lunch that day.
Yeah.
And also, she hadn't fallen down the stairs. Like, she didn't have the same injuries as you would if you fell down the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just weird he was saying that because, like, that was never brought up
Mm-hmm.
before. He's like, we already know she fell down the stairs. Like, who's we?
Yeah.
Like,
Who said we... Because I was sitting here. I was like, Did she say that? Did I like zone out for that part?
No, it was just never brought up before.
Because it was childbirth and
heart attack.
Heart attack, yeah. Ooh. Whatevs.
Okay. So, luckily for them, a big winter storm, which I was kind of confused about this because all the things before were saying it was July, so why would she have a scarf on? But now apparently there's a big winter storm.
Mm-hmm. It's probably like
yeah, that's so true. Like late July, and then that checks out.
And it's West Virginia, so
that means nothing. So there was this big winter storm, and it had preserved the body perfectly.
It
made it
so
super easy to do the autopsy.
That's weird.
Yeah, so it's still like fresh. Yeah. So you're not gonna like this part.
Just
So
go.
when they finally like removed the ribbon and scarf that had been on her, her head fell off, like during the autopsy. You should see the face she's making right now.
Oh my gosh. Gross, man.
And she had tons of bruises and marks shaped like fingers around her neck. And her neck had been broken between the second and first vertebrae.
It's so weird that it was preserved. That's so freaky. Yeah. Oh, my neck hurts now. And
then that's also like why when he choked her, she would have started like bleeding out of her mouth, like the mom had described before, is because it would have crushed her windpipe. So it's all of it's checking out so far. So then they had ruled she died by strangulation, just like Mary said they would. And trial yelled, "They can't prove it was me."
Again, bro.
Because well, at first he just said it to the sheriff, and now in front of all these people,
They can't prove it was
that
me.
the autopsy. They're like, "Yeah, we think it was strangulation." He's like, "They can't prove it was me. Not me,
Not
dude."
me, guys. Yikes. You know who I'm envisioning in my head?
Who?
Have you ever watched Once Upon a Time? That show?
Briefly.
Do you know the Jekyll and Hyde character? That's exactly who I'm envisioning. I'll show you after. But if you've watched that show, that's who he reminds me of. Like, that's what I'm envisioning for some reason.
Cute. Yeah. And then, then they had the trial, as you do with most cases like this. And it was brought up that after Zona had died and, like, she'd been buried, he became extremely happy and was always in a good mood.
Ugh.
Like, he was never grieving or anything.
This guy, man.
So then on trial, they kept trying to get Mary, the mom, to say it was a dream and that it wasn't, like, Zona actually coming to her. Like, she was just making it all up. And Mary was like, "I am not going to say it was a dream." And then the defense kept telling her, they're like, "No, like, can you just say it was a dream for me?" And she goes, "I'm not going to say it was a dream because I'm not going to lie." Which,
yeah. Go her.
Daddy. She's so cool. I love her. The mom just sounds so great.
She does. Just like our moms.
Just like our moms. So then also another thing that made Mary's case really like stone for the jury and like for it to be actually taken as record is her and Zona had been fighting the whole time throughout this marriage, right? Like they had not spoken to each other once. But Mary was able to accurately describe the house that her and Trout had moved in to because Zona had told her about it in the dream. And she's like, if you look here, like in this certain corner of the house, like behind these creaky boards.
Okay, whatever. Cut this part out, girl.
Okay. So if you had looked by these boards, then that's where like the bloodstains and stuff would be. But Mary had never been in the house, so she would not know anything about the layout, and she was able to like accurately say the exact layout and exactly where it would be and where the boards creaked.
Yikes.
And so they're like, okay,
maybe she's not crazy.
Maybe she isn't crazy. We shouldn't burn her at the stake.
Yeah. Okay. How did he tie her head back on? Sorry, I'm still stuck on that. Like,
I don't.
The fact that there were ribbons makes me so unsettled.
It was a ribbon and a thick scarf.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but if it's like at the top, it would have been up here. Like, how do you?
I don't know.
Like right where your neck and head meet.
Yikes.
That's crazy.
Oof.
So, like I said before in the beginning of the case, this is the first and only time in American history a ghost testimony was able to be entered into like a case, into like the official records.
Yikes.
However, the judge told the jury not to look too much into the testimony given by the ghost and instead look into the facts. And after an hour and a half of deliberation, the jury concluded that he was guilty of first-degree murder.
Good.
And
as he should.
10 of the jury members voted that he should be executed. But since it was not unanimous, it wasn't all of the jury members, he got faced with life in prison instead. Like it. But honestly,
life in prison may be a little worse. Not
I
really,
honestly think I'd rather be executed than have life in
Oh,
prison.
me too.
Because life in prison, that's so long. Like, I don't want to go through all that.
Yeah, especially like I don't know if it was like this in the 1800s, but like death row takes forever. Like Bundy, Gacy, they were all on there for so long.
Yeah, like years. But I feel like if you're like executed, at least that's not like, I was about to say that's not the rest of your life. Technically it is. But like having to just live it out and knowing you're never going to get out is just so like, that'd be so bad.
At least you get a death row meal when you're on death row. Speaking of, side note, Ted Bundy had breakfast for dinner as his like last meal. Psychopath.
Yeah, well, he was also Ted Bundy.
Yeah, but like that proves he's more of a psychopath.
Having breakfast for dinner actually makes you more of a psychopath than killing people.
No, it just proved it for me. I went to the crime museum and it was like had everybody.
Do you not have breakfast for dinner?
I do, but that wouldn't be my last meal. Like it's good, but it wouldn't be my last meal.
Because I had breakfast for dinner last night.
No, I just mean like having it as your last meal.
Okay.
Yeah, breakfast for dinner is great.
So you're like, guys. So, and then after all of this, like shortly after he'd been charged with murder, I forget what news article it was. It was like the Pocahontas something. Had released an article about it because this is his hometown where he was from, and said that he was a bad man and he has no sympathy from the neighborhood he was raised in.
Thanks. Good. He doesn't deserve it.
Good, but dang, they really just said that. Like,
I mean,
that's crazy. And then there were also rumors that a mob was going to form to break him out of the jail and kill him.
Oh,
but
that's
then
not good.
There were the three leaders of this, people who were organizing it, got arrested, and they were able to calm everything down before it actually happened.
Yeah. I'm not saying this guy deserves to be like saved. Like,
but so many other people could get hurt. Like,
yeah. Like, that's just a lot of unnecessary violence.
Yeah.
But yikes. That was a good one.
It was, and I love the I love the paranormal aspect of it too.
I've never heard of this one before.
Really?
No.
Oh my gosh,
light flickering is making me so paranoid right now.
Stop.
Like
the flashing light behind me is so scary.
And we filmed this, or we recorded this one in the dark, because we just like the dark, I guess.
Ooh.
But yeah, that was crazy.
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Okay. Do you have anything else?
I don't know. I think that's all for this week.
Okay. Go follow us on Instagram at It Shouldn't Happen Again Podcast. Follow us on TikTok at It Shouldn't Happen Again.
And send us Eras Tour tickets.
Yeah. And listen to Would've, Could've, Should've by Taylor Swift on the album
No, that
Midnights.
song connection was good.
Yes.
Okay, well, to close out, I'm Wiley.
I'm Maddie.
And it shouldn't happen again.